Hey y'all, it's Lindsey. A couple years ago, I shared a recipe video where I made keto-friendly, low-carb chips out of my egg wraps. I will try to link that video in the iCards above. I have since modified and sort of perfected my recipe for my taste, for my family's taste, and I've also utilized this batter in a variety of different ways. I really like using these wraps as actual wraps to, put deli meat and cheeses and some lettuces and things like that for a sandwich or a wrap. I also like using them for tacos and the tortilla chips that I've shown you in the past. But I have also played around with cooking these things in the oven because standing at my stove with my little crepe pan gets a little bit tedious. So I tried it out in my oven a few months back, loved the results, and then I took it a step further and dehydrated these things so that they could become like a cracker almost that we can use in a charcuterie board or as some sort of a vehicle for all of the delicious different dips and creamy creations that we can make on a keto way of life. First things first, I'm going to turn on my oven. I do have a convection oven, however, I'm using the conventional oven setting so that I can make these wraps. Next up, I'm gonna prep my pans. I've tried parchment paper, that doesn't work well. The parchment gets a little bit damp from the batter and then it kind of wrinkles up and you get really wonky, inconsistent results. I have tried just using it flat out on a cookie sheet and I find it impossible to get it out of the cookie sheet. I've also tried foil. This has been my best bet so far. I have some silicone pan liners on order. I'll give that a try. I'm sure that'll work beautifully because they won't wrinkle up. Foil has a dull side and a shiny side, and I find the dull side to be more non-stick, so I like to have the dull side up, directly touching my batter. One batch of my recipe will fill about a half sheet pan and it'll wind up being about 1/8 of an inch thickness. If you want to have a thinner tortilla, if you're going to use it for enchiladas or if you want to have it be thinner for lasagna as lasagna noodles, I would split it up between 1/2 sheet and another 1/4 sheet so that it's not so thin that it gets too crispy, but it's also a little bit more pliable and a little more friendly to work with in those settings. If you're gonna make crackers with it, I suggest having the half sheet pan for one batch. For the recipe, I need 1 1/3 cups of water, 1 tablespoon of gelatin. Go ahead and bloom your gelatin on top of the water for just a few minutes so that it doesn't clump up. Once the gelatin has bloomed, add 60 grams of egg white protein powder, 21 grams of my homemade baking blend, which is about 3 tablespoons, and 15 grams of psyllium husks, which is also about 3 tablespoons. And then about 1/2 teaspoon of some salt. Then just blend with an immersion blender, a regular blender, mix it by hand, whatever you feel comfortable with. I love my immersion blender. Pour your batter onto your prepared pan. I like to help it along to get it to level out. I like to let it sit for just a couple of minutes, let gravity do its work, and then we will stick this in the oven. My wrap is ready to go into the oven. I'm gonna bake this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 20 minutes. When that's ready, we'll come check it out. All right, let's take a look at this egg wrap from the oven. It's a little bit pale because it is egg white protein and I don't want it to actually turn brown in the oven, so this is perfect. It's fully cooked. There's no little wet spots or anything of that nature. And my next step is to let this cool completely. Once my egg white wrap has fully cooled, it's time to take the foil off. As you can see here, some of it does tear. It does get a little bit stuck. I have tried using some non-stick avocado oil spray and it causes the edges to actually get really crispy. So doing this with a little tiny bit of loss in the egg white wraps is not so bad, and it helps the entire egg white wrap to stay soft. With the egg white wrap free from the foil, let me show you how I use this. First thing I'm going to show you is how I make crackers in my dehydrator. I have a 6-tray Kasori dehydrator that works really nicely. I try to give a little bit of space between each of the trays when I am doing this, and 140 degrees for 16 hours yields a nice crispy cracker. Next up, I'm going to show you my lasagna noodles. So the lasagna noodles, you can cut them as wide or as narrow as you like. These work really, really beautifully. Here is some lasagna. I plan to give you a video in the future showing you how I build my lasagna from start to finish. Using those same lasagna noodles, I also will slice them into tiny little strips to turn them into a chicken noodle soup type of noodle. You could also consider them dumplings if you cut them wide. Just toss these in a little bit of chicken bone broth and add some shredded chicken, a little bit of celery, and very few carrots for some flavor, and you have a lovely chicken noodle soup. Last up, I'm going to show you how I make my chicken enchiladas using these wraps. So one half sheet pan cut into 4 pieces gives me a good size for a tortilla. I also plan to give you a full recipe on how I made these chicken enchiladas in the near future. I really like this little 2-person volume of just having 4 enchiladas in this small little pan. It means that I can either have it twice, or my husband and I have the perfect amount for one meal without becoming too bored with a meal. Down in my description box, I will have links to the items I used for my egg white wraps in case you would like some recommendations on different ingredients to choose. If you like these kinds of videos, this type of content, I would love for you to consider subscribing if you have not already. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with somebody who may enjoy these egg white wraps, I would really appreciate that. I seriously use these all the time, whether it is as tortillas for my enchiladas, lasagna noodles for lasagna, the little tiny noodles for some chicken noodle soup, just to give you that texture difference, as chips, as regular tortillas for tacos, and the cracker aspect of it is so good. These are super thick ones and they do curl up a little bit in the dehydrator, but if you're able to keep them as a complete sheet in the dehydrator, you can break them and they can stay a little bit flatter. But these are perfect for dips, for charcuterie boards, all sorts of things. Oh, I like that crunch so much. And now that I have all of these great crackery chip things, I'm gonna go make some cheese sauce and get to dipping. I hope that you will try these out. Let me know how you like them in the comments down below. I hope to see you in my next video.